Welcome to Face to Face. This is a show about change and about what's next. It's a show that wants to ask questions, peel back the layers of our average everyday experience, and go beyond scratching the surface. We interview amazing people with incredible ideas and stories who have done wild, weird, and wonderful things. Remember that imagination shared creates collaboration, and collaboration creates community, and community inspires social change. I'm David Peck, and this is Face to Face. All right, well, welcome to another edition of Face to Face, and I think I've done about 5 or 6 interviews now on my travels. This will be my final one here in Phnom Penh, and this time you won't hear any outside noise. We finally found an indoor space to actually do one of the podcasts, and we're here with a guy that I actually have known now for a couple of months, but only just met a few days ago. His name's Robert Scott. Thanks for joining us, Robert.
You're most welcome.
And we're going to get chatting in a minute or two. But Robert and I started dialoguing because I was trying to actually find a provincial flight, a flight from Phnom Penh, the city of Phnom Penh in Cambodia, up into a city up on the Laotian border called Stong Trang. And Robert was one of about 15 people who emailed me back very quickly and said, hey, let me see what I can do for you, and was kind enough to try to, when he found out that he couldn't find us a flight, tried to get us a boat, tried to get us a car. Actually, found us a helicopter, but it was a little pricey at $4,700 to fly. It would have been an awesome experience. So from what little you've told me, Robert, helicopters are a part of your background. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are? You're in Phnom Penh, and I want to get to that question. What the hell are you doing in Phnom Penh? But I want to ask you about or I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about what you're doing today. But before that, maybe your military background and how that connects to who you are and what you're up to currently.
Okay, well, actually, my military background, that's almost ancient history.
It is, eh?
But
you're a police officer as well.
Yes, I was a former Alaska State Trooper.
Alaska, right.
And I went in the State Troopers when I finished my military time in Alaska. And I was up there until 1984.
Okay.
And working as a trooper till 1981, and then I had responding to a gun call one night, had a car accident as a result on icy roads, and kind of banged me up a little bit. And, you know, Alaska's a beautiful place in the summertime, but it's very, very cold in wintertime.
Yeah,
and after those breaks in the bones every winter, I said, it's time to get out back to warm climates.
Right.
And I had an opportunity, actually it was a work opportunity. I went to India shortly after the Bhopal gas incident.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
gas incident. Yeah.
And because when I finished my trooper time, I went into private practice as a private investigator, insurance investigator, and whatever. I was working for a couple lawyers out of Anchorage at that time, and when the gas incident happened, of course, everybody in the world was getting, law firms getting, come here and do this.
We can make. Of course, yeah, but huge insurance.
Oh, lawsuit time, lawsuit city.
Yeah.
Well, they realized that they could send me to India for a lot cheaper than to send an attorney at the wages that the attorneys charge for. So I said, okay. So went over there in '84, and it was very eye-opening, very thought-provoking, and a very kind of made your heart stop experience.
And why is that? Because of what you saw, because of Bhopal, or because of the poverty, the gap in between your culture and theirs, or?
Well, it was a culture.
It was a cultural thing.
Cultural thing for me, just coming from Alaska, from America to India.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Midwest, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, okay.
Grew up in a dairy farm.
So you're American through and through. American farmer.
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
American farmer, military cop, yeah.
Green Bay Packers fan, too.
Wow, okay. Well, I won't hold that against you. Yeah.
The Pack is back.
That's right.
Anyway, as I was saying, in Bhopal, the thing that got me was, of course, India, so many people. This is 1984, poverty and everything. But the wind that night, if it had been the other way, other direction, it would have killed hundreds of thousands more people.
Is that right? How many died in that accident?
They don't really know.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Thousands and thousands and thousands died.
Yeah. And then there were the long-term implications as well,
yes,
right? Birth defects and all kinds of things.
Yes.
And isn't the area still deserted today?
That general area, you're right.
Yeah.
But they still have problems there because there's still leftover residue from when the chemicals mixed.
Yeah, sure.
They're still there. They never have ever really had a cleanup.
It's kind of like, I mean, you tell me if it's like this or not, but I remember my time in Vietnam and the dioxin, some of the from the Agent Orange, some of the chemicals from the bombings and the napalm and so on was so it was so toxic and so into the soil that in certain areas they would only grow rubber trees,
Right.
because they couldn't grow vegetables because of the fear of it getting into the food and so on.
Absolutely.
So, same sort of thing in both.
That same thing there.
So you were there to make sure that the insurance claims were real, or
Well, basically that.
Yeah.
I met with some local legal people, and because I guess you'd call it a fishing expedition.
Mm-hmm.
The attorney said, "Go check this out. See if there's if it's going to be worth our time to pursue this in the future." They knew it wasn't going to happen tomorrow. It was going to be down the road for many, many years. In fact, it was many, many years before they finally got a settlement, which still the Union Carbide got out of it. It was a sweet deal.
Right.
But yes, it was there. The chances are there. But I experienced some things I never thought. You don't even think about it till you're there. You don't think about it till you're after there. And we went to the scene, and sometimes you get these little intuitions. You think, what's missing in this picture? What isn't
quite right?
right? Well, what wasn't quite right is this gas killed everything. You didn't have dogs barking because the dogs were dead. You didn't have birds singing because birds were dead.
Wow.
And then,
how big would the perimeter have been?
Oh, it was. Thinking back now, it's several kilometers.
Several kilometers.
Yeah, I couldn't remember specifically right now. I'm
Right.
trying to imagine in my mind, but it's been a long time.
So
it was a big chunk of real estate got affected.
Yeah, it sounds like
But like I said, if the winds had been the other direction that night, it would have been a lot worse. I mean, it was bad enough. It was a terrible tragedy for those people. I mean, but it could have been so much worse. I mean, such is fate, I guess.
So you weren't there on behalf of the Indians that were killed. Obviously, these folks wouldn't have had insurance policies.
No, this basically I was going up at the request because these two attorneys I worked with, they'd gotten all these emails and all this. Hey, come over here. We got this. We got that. Basically, they sent me on a fishing expedition to say, hey, go check it out. See if it's going to be worth our time. What can we do? Can we look forward to the future?
Would have been telex, wouldn't it? Telex machine back then?
Yeah, big email. Yeah, that's before emails.
No, that's before email. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you are the military, right?
Telex and fax machines. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
So that was kind of your first big international kind of private eye
yes, it was
incident.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd been doing stuff in Alaska and in lower 48,
Right.
missing children, things like this.
Right.
Tracked down one interesting case. This nurse had been told by the hospital, "Don't say anything about a guy had been a pedophile," and I tracked him from Alaska to Arizona to Texas to Louisiana, and then from Louisiana he went to Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee. But he worked in he was a like a medical, not a nurse, but like a nursing assistant, whatever. So he had access in the hospitals, and he worked in the children's ward, and he's a pedophile, is what it turned out to be. And he also worked with some of these summer camps with children with not mental problems. How do I say this?
Disabilities.
Mental disabilities. That's the word. Yeah. Yes, and he always kept ahead of the law. Basically, he'd always step ahead. And finally, it turned out that I tracked him to Tennessee, and he went to work. I guess he's getting tight for money. He went to work in an old folks' home. Well, of course, he didn't have any targets. It wasn't
children to exploit.
No one to exploit there. But he worked there for a while. Then he kind of dropped off the radar. And all this had come about from when he was in Alaska, took kids on a summer camping trip, and that's when he had sexually assaulted a couple of these kids. Well, the nurse at a hospital in Louisiana knew there wasn't something right about this guy, and tried to say, tried to tell people management, hey, this isn't right. Well, no, it's okay, don't, stifle it, because they were concerned, well, we might get in trouble for this. Well, just by accident, I ran into her, and she said, I don't want to talk to you now, but can you talk to me later? We can do that. So 24 hours later, contacted her. She said, come to this coffee shop, very covertly. She didn't want to be. Ended up talking to her, and she says, yes, this happened. She had dates. She had dates, she had times.
She knew.
She knew this guy was going on. And that was kind of the proverbial straw in a haystack that I found, and everything started tumbling down.
Right.
And I got on the phone to the law firm I was working for in Alaska at the time, because they were representing the family of one of these kids that had been abused.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And I said, this is the lady you need to talk to. She has everything. And I said, I got hard copy in my hand, but I said, you should talk to her right now, because she's worried that something's gonna, could happen or whatever. It's just, no problem, put her on the phone. Bang, 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 and that was it. And that was...
So was this from the family's perspective, they were just looking for justice, or was this this was a lawsuit against this particular guy?
Both.
Both. Yeah.
Both.
Yeah.
Because he'd weaseled out in Alaska, got out of it, and kept avoiding everybody, keeping one step ahead of the cops, and finally his luck ran out.
So it was like your favorite show in the 70s, The Rockford Files?
Actually, Magnum P.I.
Magnum P.I. I was a huge Rockford fan. In fact, still am.
Yeah.
My wife and I occasionally, Jim Rockford will watch them, and his sense of humor and just everything about him. I mean, obviously, that's a pretty romantic idea of what it's like to be a private investigator, I would imagine.
Yes.
A lot of your time is just sit waiting, I would imagine.
A lot of us sit waiting, and a lot of times you're kind of get a little tight in the change, because work isn't coming in, you got to, paycheck to paycheck, whatever, but then you get the good one, and then you're okay for a while to the next one, but stateside, I've had some very interesting cases. I've been very well paid for some of the cases I've done, and such a variety. One of my high points was tracking this guy down, catching him. That really made me feel good.
Yeah,
Took him off the streets.
Quite a sense of satisfaction for certain things like that. Whereas if you're doing like a lawsuit for somebody who broke a leg, I guess it's probably not quite as satisfying as bringing in a guy like that.
No, not really. But in a way, it is too, because you want, if the guy got hurt, say broke his leg because of safety wasn't followed, things weren't in place, negligent things. Sure. Then still you get that satisfaction too. Yeah. But when you can actually catch somebody has, going back to being a state trooper, being a law enforcement officer, some guy has gotten away from the law, has ducked it, got out of it, beat the system, has always been a step ahead of the cops.
Yeah.
When you grab them, that's a real good feeling. You took a scumbag off the street.
Yeah, exactly.
Excuse my
Yeah. So Wisconsin, Alaska, you were in the military during the 70s, I believe.
Yes.
Isn't that right?
70 to 75.
You wound up in Bhopal, India. You're currently in Cambodia. You're married to a Thai woman.
Yes.
But you're very white. And you're very American. So what the heck? How have you got this love for international travel, or and I still want to get to why you're in Cambodia itself, but
I was bitten by the bug.
You've been bitten by the bug.
Yeah, when I was India, that was okay. It was very made me realize how cheap life can be.
Right.
But it opened my eyes to there's so much in the world, so much to do, and I think, well, if I can do this in Alaska, why can't I do it overseas? So India back to Alaska. Well, actually, snow was blowing, it was cold. So, thanks, guys. Here's my report. This is going to happen. Give me a call. I'm in Thailand. So I came back to Asia, and I've been in Asia ever since, off and on, except for my brief.
So that was mid 80s.
Mid 80s, 1984. Yes.
So you came to Thailand in the mid 80s.
Yes, and then I came to Cambodia during UNTAC in 1993.
Okay.
A very good friend of mine.
UNTAC, United Nations
Transitional Authority.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that had to do with the handing off of basically the Vietnamese occupation to I was going to say the former Khmer Rouge, but to the government of Cambodia at the time, correct?
Yeah, get the elections going.
Yeah.
The Khmer Rouge are finished, allegedly. Supposedly.
Was Romeo Dallaire here then as well? Do you remember that name? Canadian general who served in Rwanda in 1994. I believe he was part of that mission, but he would have been with the UN at the time.
That's quite possible. The name doesn't ring a bell, but at the same time, he
went on to shake hands with the devil. He's the guy who was in Rwanda trying to raise the call to genocide and what was going on between the Hutus and the Tutsis. Hotel Rwanda was made, and But anyway, were you doing work for the UN at the time?
No, I was working for a company that was supporting the UN.
Oh, I see.
Through aviation. We had aircraft that were flying folks around. Also, general supplies, importing things, whatever, things like that. And the company was in existence until UNTAC. And in fact, I put the last containers for UNTAC and the last vehicles for UNTAC on the ships in Kampong Sam at the end of 1994, actually December 30th, and watched them sail over the horizon, going to Sadaheep, Thailand, where they're going to hook up with more ships and more equipment. And we're off to the Balkans for the next UN mission.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, and it was very funny driving down to Kampong Sam that week to do this job, because at that time UNTAC had different countries under the UN had different portions of Cambodia where it was under their control. Well, they all had these different camps laid out, very nicely, nice containerized living quarters, containerized offices, radio towers, whole 9 yards. While driving down, all this was in existence. Driving back, all of these camps had been stripped bare. The locals that went in and they'd taken anything that wasn't nailed down or welded down, it was gone.
Wow. They
just stripped everything, UN was gone, we might as well put it to use, grab it, take it.
Of course, Was that mission successful in your opinion, having been on the ground? They were here really to oversee the elections?
Help the elections happen,
I mean, I've heard a lot of negative criticism about the UN coming into Cambodia and how it drove prices up and how rents went through the roof and how, they came here in their fancy Land Cruisers and their Toyota pickup trucks and so on, and really blew things out of proportion as a result of that, and all the other implications and all the other problems that occurred as a result of this, wealthy group of men basically coming into a country like this.
Yes, and a lot of these countries that were representing the UN were third world countries.
Right.
And all of a sudden, here these guys into Cambodia getting $150 a day per diem to do whatever.
Per diem over and above their wage, or their $100,000 a year wage, or whatever.
Well, just your normal soldiers, the guys that private back in Uganda might be getting $30 a month if he gets paid at all, and all of a sudden he's getting $150 a day per diem.
Yeah.
He's not going to go crazy. He's going to have a good time here in Cambodia.
Yeah.
And in fact, everything was dollar beer, dollar this, dollar that. It was, but it was overall they could have done better. Overall, it didn't really solve anything.
Right.
It just held off the coup for a few years.
For a few more years, which was in '97, right?
'97. Yes.
You were here in '97 then.
Yes, I was.
And how bad was that? Was it as bad as I've read? I mean, I know there was fighting out by the airport, tanks on the streets, a few people died.
Yes.
Was there a fear that the Khmer Rouge were coming back? Was there a sense that war was going to break out?
There was concerns that it was going to that it could have gotten bloodier than it did.
Right.
They thought it was going to go more of an all-out war. Where I was living at the time, I had bullets come through my roof because I heard people were shooting over my roof, and I guess they weren't always the best shots in the world, so I had a couple of rounds come through the roof of my house where I was staying.
Wow.
But it was serious. Yes, there was tanks in the streets. The tanks were destroyed down on the way to the airport.
Yep.
The first overpass that you come over, at that point in time, that used to be just a major intersection. There was tanks. There was one tank was destroyed right at that intersection. Across, as you come down over the overpass, you see a gas station on the left-hand side. That was a very small gas station then. There was another tank was destroyed in that gas station. There's two tanks there that belonged to the Prince Ranawat's operation.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And of course, once the shooting kind of calmed down, I'm out running around checking out what it is, you know.
Yeah. Sure.
I went out to the airport, and I remember a gentleman had borrowed one of the motorized stairs for the going up to the airplanes. You know,
Oh, yeah.
the
Yep.
steps.
Yep.
So he was driving down the highway, going down the highway, heading toward Kampong Sbu with his motorized chair
Sounds like
steps,
a scene out of Arrested Development.
heading south. And then coming back in, I had an old Jeep at the time, and coming back in, I got stopped by the, I guess they're called the CPP troops.
Right. Yep.
Well, of course I'll give you guys a ride. You have guns, I don't. Hop on. So I ended up coming in from the airport. I had an old Willys Jeep, which was open as canvas top. I had 6 of us inside, 5 more on the hood, and 1 guy's laying up on the canvas top.
Wow. All with AK-47s?
AKs and whatever, coming into town.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, come on, I'll give you a ride.
Well, that's kind of like today. You'll see that every now and then today, even in the streets. Yeah.
I'm not going to say no.
Yeah. No, I guess
So
not.
come back in, and then they said, oh, come on, you got to see this, got to see
So
that.
you've really seen Cambodia through some ups and downs over the last 15, 20 years. I guess you've been here 20 years.
Yeah, 93. Well, actually, I took a break in 2003. That's when I went off to Iraq and Afghanistan, and I came back here.
Right, I forgot about Iraq and Afghanistan, yeah.
I came back here in January last year, 2012, and it was a shock for me, being gone for 10 years.
I guess so.
And I said, wow. And
Yeah.
if I had come in, I came in daytime, you know, and landing, I said, well, this Pochen Tong Airport, it just, you know, because everything's built up around it. Before that was wide open. Now everything's built up.
I even remember that. Like, I mean, I've been coming here for 10 years, and the changes are significant.
But then when I came into town, I said, if it had come at nighttime, I would not believe it was in Phnom Penh.
Yeah. Well, I think there are pros and cons to that. That's for sure. Yeah. So, okay, hang on. Let's back up.
Okay.
So we're in Cambodia, but it looks like we skipped a step or two.
Yeah, we got away from
2013. Tell me
India
about
to
Iraq.
here. Yeah.
Iraq and Afghanistan. Do I need to ask what you were doing there?
Okay.
Or can I sort of infer from, the last 15 years of American history?
I was supporting the U.S. operations in Iraq.
Right. Were you going to say occupation, or is that what you were going to say?
Actually, we were liberators in the beginning.
That's right. Yeah.
But
no,
then
I'm just kidding you. I'm a Canadian over here.
Yeah,
Don't
but no
forget.
problem. No, I saw the change happen.
Yeah.
The moment they realized, when they liked us as liberators, but the moment they consider us occupiers, it all went downhill from there.
Is that right, eh? Yeah.
And we,
Well, and do you think they were, Robert, do you think they were justified in that in some regards? I mean, so liberators, from the images that we saw on television to I mean, who am I to presume to know what actually happened there? But at what point did that shift from your recollection? From Americans are great, isn't it wonderful? This is about freedom, democracy, etc. To what the heck are you guys doing in our country, and get out?
yeah, that's about it. Now you're trying to control us. You're occupying us. We can't do this, can't do that.
Yeah,
You're in charge for what?
And when did that shift from your perspective? How did you see it on a day-to-day level? Or was it a racism towards you, or was there a change in I don't know, the way people reacted to you and so on, or were there just more battles that were occurring?
There was more resistance to the U.S. forces.
Yeah.
And not only U.S. forces, the coalition forces. I mean, the Brits are getting hit, whatever, it was happening. I mean, all of a sudden, we weren't their friends anymore. We were their enemies. And, they can blame this person, blame that person. But the fact is, we should have went in. Well, we went in, we should have got out. We never should have stayed. Because it hasn't solved nothing. Right now, what is happening there now is the same thing that was happening in 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007. Sunnis and Shiites going at each other. It's no change. The only difference is we're not in the ground there.
We're not on the ground, yeah.
But it's going to...
And so what were you doing there what was your PI doing there?
I was just doing security work. I was working for a company out of the States under a DOD contract, providing security.
So are you telling me you were a mercenary? Is that what you were saying?
No, I was a security contractor.
Oh, okay. Were you? You've told me recently about another contract that you're heading off to. You're looking at some of the work that you do. You really do sound like a security consultant in the sense that you're going in to make sure that the premises, the area, will be secure. You're looking at things like video camera security locks and doors and those kinds of things. Is that what you were doing while you were in Iraq? That kind of work?
That was part of it. Yeah, a lot of it. Threat vulnerability assessments, TVAs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Anywhere from like electronic surveillance, electronic security systems, up to just the guards walking the perimeter.
I see. Yeah.
T-walls here, bunkers here, barriers here, whatever, force protection materials in the right place, being utilized the correct way. Entry control points, are they efficient? Are they effective the way they're set up? Or can they be changed? What changes should be made? And like you mentioned, video cams, can put a camera here, camera there, things like that.
How do you go from being an insurance private investigator to doing that kind of sophisticated, well, maybe not more sophisticated, but sort of more focused and detailed work for the DoD? Is it just a job you applied for, or did they come after you?
It came with the job, basically.
I see, okay.
And again, like I've been doing a lot of things, but at the same time, I'm always learning more.
Sure.
I mean, that's one great thing about the internet, and you can learn a lot of stuff on there. And I've taken online courses. I mean, finally got a degree after all my years of trying the university here, university there, because moving around,
Mm-hmm.
and I finally put my mind to it, got down, worked hard, online courses, got a degree out of it. I got
degree in what?
Security management.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
and I guess too, you look at your CV: Iraq, Afghanistan, Bhopal, India, Alaska Trooper, etc. I mean, it's a pretty rich and eclectic background. So with that, along with a degree in security management, I mean, it sounds like you're kind of the guy. And you've been in Cambodia
I hope so.
and on the ground, and you got this international edge, and so on. It almost, in a way, adds credibility without even trying, in a way, doesn't it? Just that level of experience.
I guess you could say that, but I hate to toot my horn and pat my back, say, credibility. You never stop learning,
Right.
because there's something new every day. And one thing I have learned being in this business is the bad guys out there are always improving too. So you always have to be
Right.
one step ahead of them, outthink them, and usually the way to do that is you have to think like them sometimes.
Right.
And a lot of my work I did in Iraq is, how do I get into this? How would I get into that? How can I get around this perimeter? You have to think like the bad guys. And then you think, okay, if we can do this, I'll do that. Counteract. It's almost like it's like a chess game in real life. What's his move? What's your counter move?
Right. Right.
Like that. And that's, and hopefully you win.
So do you have to think like a bad guy. Do you trust people?
Assume nothing, trust no one.
Okay.
You
don't strike me as that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like, maybe we had an email exchange and we kind of got to know each other that way, and then we met at the hotel here in the city. But that's how you pretty much behave, is it, with everyone?
Yes, you trust them to a point. I think, at my age, I've met all kinds of people in my life.
Yeah.
And I hope to meet all kinds more before I die. But you learn to read people, and you learn to feel. Listen to your intuition. Listen to that little voice in the back of your head telling you this, that, whatever. And you can't say you don't trust everybody, but you don't trust anybody. You have to watch the person, read the person, and listen to your feelings. And then,
so when you say listen to you mean like your intuitive sense?
Yes.
And that's just based on your experience of being able to compare this person to that person and collectively saying there's something not right here, or I can go further.
Absolutely.
And trust this person more.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we all have that, I guess, to some degree, right? It's just
We all do, but human nature is people don't use it.
Right.
And that's too bad, because every other species in the world, every other animal, they use everything they have, all their senses. It's their survival. Humans have gotten it so easy in their life that they let all these little things that are natural to them, they don't use them. And then a lot of times that's why they get in trouble or have accidents or this or that.
Craziest investigative story that you can tell me without having to kill me afterwards.
Never happened. Yes, I was doing working for a lady, a real estate agent in Alaska, and her husband supposedly was had a girlfriend.
Okay. Had a what kind of girlfriend?
Had a girlfriend.
Had a girlfriend.
And he supposedly, and she wanted me to find out, follow him, whatever, Well, he happened to be an attorney, by the way.
Okay.
So you have to always be extra careful when you're doing something against an attorney, because attorneys are attorneys.
That can backfire on
Absolutely.
you, I would think, in a hurry. All of a sudden, you'll have a private investigator on you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was tracking him, and I followed him from Anchorage to Soldotna, Alaska. Oops, sorry about that. Someone's
That's okay.
calling. Excuse me for a second.
Are they on to us?
No,
We're being watched?
we're good. And he went down to a hotel in Soldotna. He went by himself, but I still followed him on there. And he meets up with the girlfriend. Well, what happens? The girlfriend has a problem. They both drive in separate vehicles. Well, she comes up, and I pull in there, and I'm just getting out of my car. And says, "Oh, sir, can you help me?" I said, "Yes." Well, there's something wrong with my car, and it turned out she had screwed up her ignition with her ignition lock, and she couldn't get it to function correctly. Well, I'm trying to help her fix that. Well, she comes on to me, and she says, "Where do you live?" And I says, "Yeah, I'm in Anchorage." She says, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm down looking at some property. I'm thinking of buying some land here in the Kenai River." "Oh, how long are you going to be here?" I said, "Oh, probably a couple of days." "Well, I'm staying here. I've got to meet a friend. I'm not sure if he's going to show up." He says, "I'm going to stay at his hotel. Why don't you come by later and we can go out for dinner or whatever, I said, "Yeah, no problem. I can do that, And I know the hotel, I'll give you a call." Well, I got her car working for her, and I said, "Have a good day." She goes in the hotel. Well, and it's the big front windows, in the hotel, and I'm out in the parking lot, I'm trying not to be too obvious, I've got my hood up, trunk up in my car, I'm watching through here. And here comes the attorney boyfriend. Oh, the big lovey-dovey here in the front room of the hotel, and holy smokes! And I'm filming all this, by the way, too, and she's just, this guy's the best thing since ice cream, and I thought,
Right.
boy, this guy getting changed by this woman, because she's out for anything that walks down the street.
Right. Sounds like you're shortchanging yourself there a little bit.
Yeah. So, and I go, and then they went up to his room, and I went in and got a room, and got a room right next door. So, and then I had to use some electronic equipment to clarify and verify that they were actually doing things that they shouldn't be doing, since he's a married man.
So are you talking like the stuff we see on the movies, like the little cameras that go under doors and those kinds of things?
All of the above.
All of the above, eh?
Yes.
Is that right, eh?
Yeah. And
So my son would love to see your briefcase.
And this is way back. This is the old high tech stuff.
Right.
Yeah. The new toys we have now. God, it's so much fun.
I seem to remember being in a war museum somewhere and seeing some spy stuff that was pretty darn sophisticated, even for 75, 80 years ago.
Yes.
I don't know, maybe not, but recording devices, like a gun and a cane, like these kinds of things. The stuff that you see on Sherlock Holmes, and you just kind of go, "Oh, that's a great imagination," but they probably don't really have that. But like you say, everything and then some.
Everything starts from an idea.
Yeah. So, I would imagine you've come across some pretty shady characters over the years. You've met, like you say, all kinds of different people. You've traveled the world. You've worked in some really extreme conditions, by the sounds of
Yes.
it. What do you think you've learned about being human? What have you learned about people?
Never stop learning.
Never
stop learning.
Huh.
Yeah. If you stop learning, you're cheating yourself. There's so much out there in the world. I'm not a young person, so but I will never stop learning.
So what has challenged you to do that? People that you've met that don't learn, would you say, or that are closed-minded? So you sound very open-minded.
Yes, closed-minded people. I think, people complain about this, complain about that, or they don't realize how good they have it compared to some people in the world, and how much more they could do if they just made the effort to do it instead of shutting themselves off.
Right, right.
You know, and then blaming somebody else for their shortcomings because they're so stupid that they don't realize they could be doing better.
Right.
If they just wanted to, whether they're lazy or just lack of intelligence, but whatever. But yeah, never stop learning. And a lot of times that's when I hear people say, oh, I'm an expert. A guy told me a long time ago, he says, never listen to an expert because they stop learning. They think they know it all.
They think they know it all. Yeah.
And
There's a great quote, and I forget who said it, and I should know it, but it's everything that you learn after you know it all that counts.
Yeah.
Right? So you think you know it all, and then all that other stuff that just starts to flow in. No, I think that's very true. I mean, I teach at Humber College in Toronto, and I think and I hope it's one of the things I try to sort of pass on to the students is this idea of curiosity and that there aren't necessarily set definitions for different terms in international development and so on, but that they're works in progress.
Oh,
and
yes.
You're continuing to unpack and to peel back and to discover. I mean, it's only a few years ago. I mean, I've been coming to Cambodia for about 10 years, but it's only a few years ago that I realized it was called the Kingdom of Wonder, which is so perfect in so many ways. I mean, it's just this, there's just so
Makes
much.
me wonder every day.
Yeah, just so much to discover here, and it certainly is a beautiful country. How do you keep busy in Cambodia? Like, who's hiring you? I mean, it's not local Cambodians for $1 a day. I mean,
oh no, it's most of my work that I have done recently has been from overseas.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yeah.
Insurance companies again?
Again, yes.
Yeah.
A couple debt collections, things like that.
I see. And is this Americans and Canadians and Europeans taking off and coming to hide out here in Southeast Asia?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
But it's amazing what people don't realize that the world's small these days.
Yeah.
You can't run and hide anymore because it's, the internet and everybody's out there, you can run, but you can't hide.
So does that mean you're going to be out of a job soon?
No.
No, there'll always be work.
Always be work.
Yeah.
And there's other things to do too. I mean, like we mentioned before, possibly going back to Iraq and something, and go from that.
So that is possibly next for you then.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But just like I always said, just give me tomorrow.
Yeah, just give you tomorrow.
Yeah.
So what's so other than possibly Iraq, what's next? Back to Cambodia? Is this? Are they going to sprinkle your ashes in the Mekong River one day, or?
I don't know if it'll be in the Mekong, but I'll definitely have ashes. Yeah, I plan to be cremated wherever.
Wherever you are.
Yeah.
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 But you're not sure if it'll be Southeast Asia.
No, I won't know until
You won't know until the time comes.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Well, listen, Robert. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me. I continue to be amazed at the people that I meet just every day. But when I travel, there's some of the interesting folks and the interesting work. And I can't believe you were in Bhopal. In a way, I think we should have spent more time chatting about that. But really appreciate you joining me and wish you well on your next tour.
Thank you, David. I appreciate your time too. And before you click that off, I want to say,
please.
You mentioned about Cambodia being the land of one or whatever.
Yes.
I'd have to say one of the high points since I've been in Cambodia was back in the late 90s. I was a charter member of the Rotary Club at Phnom Penh.
Oh, wow.
And,
even the Rotary Club here.
Yes. And during that time, we had the Polio Plus campaign.
Yes.
And we went out on the river to get all the floating villages out there to vaccinate the children. And we had a translator with us, and we're out there in the boats, and we come up to this boat where this mother had an infant in her arms and two more kids, maybe 2 or 3 years old, and I'm thinking, holy smoke, this poor mom's got to get these, these kids fall overboard, they're gonna, drown, whatever, And the translator said, okay, in Khmer that we're here to do this. And this lady didn't know me from the man in the moon. She hands me her baby because here was somebody that could save her baby from having polio. She, she had enough words in the world about, like her kids falling overboard or whatever. And here's this Falang, this expat. She just gives me the baby, please. And I just wow. Of course, I put the drops in the child's mouth. But I just, wow, that was one of the times, that's a high point for me, because this lady put all her trust and her faith for her family in my hands.
Yeah, just for that brief moment.
That brief moment.
It's amazing. You know, I've got some stories like that. Part of the reason I do what I do is because of a man that I met in Eldoret, Kenya in 1989. And there was this moment of grace and generosity and just friendship between the two of us.
Yeah.
And it's a story I've told many, many times, but it's had such a significant impact on me. Just this little brief moment in time, this little thing, you know, that made all the difference in my life. And it sounds like, do you remember this woman's name by any chance?
I sure don't.
No, isn't
But-
that wild, eh?
but it
and,
just-
and if we found her, she wouldn't be able to imagine the impact that gentle and simple experience has made in your life.
But-
that's incredible.
But it was absolutely just like bing, I feel like it happened yesterday.
Wow.
Just like that. But that was one of my high points of Cambodia.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you, and wish you well and all the best.
Good. Thank you, David. Appreciate it.